back to the Midnight Who Show! And tonight, I'm going to be sharing my thoughts on the pilot episode of Lanterns, the brand new show in the DC Universe. Now, this was a show that I was not always excited for. I really wasn't sure what to think of a Green Lanterns project with a True Detectives tone. But I will say, as more trailers came out, I was slowly getting more intrigued to see what this show would be all about. And I gotta say, this pilot episode was phenomenal. It got me hooked. I am ready for the next 7 weeks, and I am so excited to have a new Green Lantern project. And yes, this is tonally different than what you would expect, but I think that's really needed. It is good to kind of reset the Green Lanterns, especially as they have been kind of pushed aside, let's say, ever since the live-action movie from 2011. And I do think it is kind of smart to make this more of a down-to-earth, kind of True Detective style of John and Hal investigating something alien in rural Nebraska. But I can say, I see some budget issues in this show. I wish there was a little bit more green when Hal flew, or that the hologram had a bit more green. And you know, what can you say? If the show is good, though, I will let that slide. And I do think, though, you can definitely see it's very clever of them. They have aliens who can disguise themselves as humans. So, another little budget thing. But that does not going to take me away from the show. I just wanted to mention that. I gotta say, the casting on Hal and John, phenomenal. They are their comic book characters brought to life. But I can say that this is probably not a version of Hal that a lot of fans want. And definitely the ending is going to be very controversial. But I'm going to talk about that with spoilers, but that'll be at the end, because I'm going to share no spoilers for the first part, okay? Now, this Hal is older. They've been the Green Lantern for, by this time, this will be 40 years in 2016. And you can really see how much more they are jaded. They're very cynical, and they really don't want to give up the ring, and they don't like that they have to train John. And it is really shown. They're not even wearing their suit anymore. And it's really interesting to see the hologram, who is from 2006, have a very different personality. You can definitely tell a lot has happened to Hal in 10 years. They're definitely not the same person, it seems like. They have a different interaction with John. So that's going to be very interesting to see if that's brought up again. Now, John, I think, is very much at the beginning of their origin. I think there's a lot more character development that can happen with them, as they're very much by the books in this, and very much a rule follower, which maybe is why the Guardians wanted them to be the backup to Hal Jordan. But there's a lot more, I think, that can be done with their character. And I'm very curious to see what happens in the 16 timeline and the 26 timeline. Now, this mystery, I think, is set up really well in this first episode. It's definitely getting me intrigued to see what happens. And I will say, I'm very curious to see who is the alien among these residents in this rural Nebraska town. And what's going on. Why are they there? And is there a connection to the predecessor of Hal Jordan? And I'm glad that we get a little tease of their origin. That was cool. Now, there's some really great characters being introduced in this first episode, and I cannot wait to see them even more, but definitely what's going on that ranch. Lots of questions. I do want to mention, I really did enjoy the scene after John told Hal what the backup consciousness told them, and they just fly right off and leave John there, and then they just have to fly traditional ways to get to Nebraska. And I'm glad that they showed that, not just cut that out. That really just added so much to the story. Now, spoilers. Spoilers. So click out of this video if you don't want to hear them. But thank you for watching. If you're going to stop right here. And I'll see you all in the next video. But let's talk spoilers in 3, 2, 1. Hal Jordan is dead in 2026? Wow. Now, this was rumored for at least a couple months, and I didn't think they would do it. But they did. I am not really sure how people are going to react to this. I will say it's definitely a bold choice. You know, we've waited so long for Hal Jordan again in live action, and they kill him. Well, okay. But the thing is, though, with this type of show, with this mystery, I don't think everything can be taken at face value. Why doesn't he have a ring? But I also noticed that John doesn't appear to have one, too. So whatever happened in 2016 resulted in him not becoming a Green Lantern. Very curious. But we also know there's aliens that can shapeshift into humans. So, lots to unpack there, isn't there? But yeah, bold choice. I'm not fully sure what I think of it, but it definitely is opening up another mystery. And I'm curious to see what happens. Now, you know, I can definitely see there's going to be a lot of people who are deeply upset by this decision. But I get it. You know, there's a lot of people who are fans of Hal Jordan, and the show takes a different route with them. Overall, the pilot episode of Lanterns was really good. I'm intrigued. I cannot wait for the next 7 weeks, and there's so much to unpack. I'm really curious to see how all this unfolds, and it's just great to have the Lanterns back in the forefront again. Now, I also want to mention quickly here, before I end this video, just keep going, I notice, but I do really like that this does showcase what James Gunn did say, that every project is going to feel different. You know, they're going to be like graphic novels. And this one definitely takes a complete tonal shift from the previous projects. And I'm really glad to see that. And I'm hoping this continues on with more projects, because this is how the DCU can grow. And I'm hoping Lanterns is just one type of it, and we get difference like in Clayface and even in the future. But that's it for tonight. Thank you for watching. I'll see you all in the next video. Bye, everyone. You know, I just realized after I stopped recording that I forgot to even talk about my favorite scene from this episode. The interrogation between Hal and the person he assumed was an alien in disguise. That was so good. And I really enjoyed how Hal was very clever in the questions they asked. And it was just a really intense scene. And I really did enjoy when the alien realized they can't keep this charade up anymore. And that just ending was so good. Can't believe I forgot to mention that.